So good evening, everyone. This presentation will be about the development of a multinomial logit model based on the existing transportation system of the Tubungan, Iloilo. So as an introduction, Tubungan is a fourth-class municipality with a total land area of 85.18 square kilometer, which represents about 1.68% of the total provincial land area of the whole Iloilo province. So it is located on the southwestern part of Iloilo and is bounded by municipalities of Leon, Tigbaras, Tigbawan, and Gimban. So the map shows the shaded Tubungan as blue being the origin and the red spots are the destination points of the study respondents. So it is composed of 48 barangays with the population of the municipality being highlighted. So barangays of Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. So 47 of these barangays, so meaning all except Barangay Bagunanan, has responses on this study. So with this, 97.91% of the whole Tubungan has been represented on the dataset. So we can say that a robust utility model can be developed based on the quality of the data obtained. So according to the 2015 PSA census, Tubungan has a total population of 22,449. So all barangays are considered as rural areas. So further, the median age of the municipality is 27, which indicates that half of the entire population is aged less than 27, and the other half are aged over 27. So by analyzing what people prefer and how they decide on their mode of transportation, it can aid the formulation and implementation of the transportation policy. So thus addressing the need for an efficient, economical, and dependable transportation system. So the populace or the traveling population is likely to be satisfied with the recommendations for improving the travel conditions based on the traveler's preferences. So as a result, the ideal method to manage a transportation network is to first understand the population using it, and furtherly moving from there, constantly considering how they would respond. So hence, this study aims to generate a multinomial logit model of transportation system of residents from Tubungan to Iloilo City, Oton, New Lucena, Gimbal, Leon, Niagao, Leganes, and Maasin of Iloilo province. So available transport modes were determined for each respondent, each of them having a unique list of transport choices depending on the availability of the private vehicle, which is through motorcycle or car mode, and public transportation through jeepney, bicycle, PUBs, and UB Express. So every traveler in the decision-making process is assumed to follow the econometric consumer or economic consumer theory, which analyzes how individuals spend money based on personal preferences and budget limits. So it demonstrates how people make decisions based on their financial resources and the service costs in order to optimize their travel utility. So the model will be probabilistic as long as the individual's choice is established under random conditions that never occur identically. So nobody can exactly forecast an individual's choice, but the modeler can estimate the probability of that choice based on the choice conditions and the individual's socioeconomic characteristics. So as a result, we can use the multinomial logit model to predict the probability that traveler I will utilize an alternative J in given conditions describing the environment of the choice. So this utility can be written as a linear function of all factors that make up this particular environment. So this utility is written as shown. So since 6 travel modes are considered on this study, then K is equal to 6. So now we'll proceed with the data gathering method that has been used. So the survey was conducted in Tubungan, Iloilo in 2018. So questionnaires were utilized to capture information of the traveling population's preferences, where the revealed preference survey was used to obtain the perceptions of the population. So this entails gathering data on people's preferred transportation mode based on the actual market conditions. So it includes obtaining the individual's perception on various parameters for all travel mode choices, both chosen and unchosen. So given that the data is obtained on a representative sample of the population, it is regarded as a replication of the real market share condition. So as a result, a model built using revealed preference data can be utilized to represent the actual market. So the survey questionnaire included questions on trip characteristics such as trip purpose, tip origin and destination, the transport mode, primary and secondary choices, the access or egress characteristics. So it also included the traveler's social demographic information such as gross monthly income, civil status, gender, age, vehicle and license ownership, and the number of owned vehicles, both for motorcycle and private cars. So it also included information on total travel costs and total travel time that the traveler spent to complete the trip. So the total travel time is the sum of the perceived processing and waiting time and the in-vehicle travel time. So as for the cost, it includes the travel cost to and from terminals of the origin, from the origin to the destination respectively. So in addition to the travel cost of the transport mode used. So given that some respondents gave incomplete to almost no answers to certain important variables, so their respective questionnaire forms were simply rejected. So responses with only one choice were also excluded. So hence, out of the 238 original samples, only 231 samples were used in the choice modeling analysis. So the LIMDEP program, or NLOGIT 3.0, was used to calibrate the model. So the software utilized also included goodness of fit measures such as rho-squared and chi-squared values. So the choice probabilities among the alternatives in the choice set were modeled using choice-based sampling. So of the total, a total of 231 samples were gathered and synthesized for the study. So motorcycle users lead the user count with a count of 139. So this could be attributed to the convenience of riding a motorcycle and its lower capital cost than a private car. So Tubungan has a large land area and travel distances can span up to kilometers, which is not suitable for walking. So the traveling can also start from unpaved roads with small road width, which is also not suitable for private cars. And this municipality do not have a good network of paved streets as compared to Metro Manila. So jeepney comes next at a count of 81. So this can be attributed to jeepneys being the primary travel mode of respondents, not owning either motorcycle or private car, and more so that the jeepneys offer lower fares. So tricycle comes third with a count of 7. It's just considered for trips within the municipality. So private car and public and PUV comes fourth and fifth, with the UV having no count. So the low count of the PUB and UV comes from the fact that the route coincides with the route of the jeepney on the Iloilo Antique Road, and another transfer of travel mode would just add up to the total travel cost and waiting time of the respondent. So private cars are options naman for respondents having to own one or multiple of them. So further, as seen on the figure, respondents age from 41 to 50 make up most of the respondents, which is 23.81%. So those aged 51 to 60 make up 22.1%. Those aged 21 to 30 and 31 to 40 make up 20.35%. So those aged 20 and below, 61 and 70 and above 71 make up 2.6, 9% and 1.7% respectively. So the computed median age of the sampling population is 44, indicating that the sampling population is relatively older as we compared it to the PSA's median age of Tubungan resident, which is at 27. So as for the gender distribution, the sampling population is dominated by females, comprising 60.61%, with males at 39.40%. So married or widowed respondents also dominate the sampling population at 68.83% compared to the 31.17% of single respondents. So further shown in the figure, majority of the respondents have incomes below 5,000 pesos, with those belonging to the 5 to 10K bracket making up 19.05% of the respondents. Those belonging to 10 to 15, 15 to 20, and above 20,000 brackets make up 3.9%, 3.46%, and 0.87% respectively. So the computed average income of the whole sample population is at 5,017.62 pesos. So average income per travel mode is highest on the private car users, followed by motorcycle users and jeep users. So tricycle users resulted to the lowest income group among the four modes. So data for Tubungan residents living before 7 a.m. is slightly higher than those living after 7 a.m., with their count at 52.83% and 47.62%. So moreover, other tip purposes, which is mainly identified as shopping either for neighborhood retail shops, also known as the sari-sari stores or leisure shopping tips, dominated the dataset at 66.23% versus the work-related tips at 33.77%. So the highest statistic for your frequent travelers is the private car and tricycle users, while the highest statistic for weekly travelers is the motorcycle users. So this is mainly due to the privilege of not having access or egress and waiting time. So thus they are more inclined to travel more since it is a much comfortable trip being on a private transportation mode. So initial screening were conducted to exclude variables resulting to low confidence interval and incorrect signs of coefficient. So identifying the group of significant variables is an iterative process until the correct coefficient sign and high significance of each variable in the developed utility model is satisfied. So after several simultaneous and individual iterations, it was revealed that the total travel time and travel cost, which are both route and mode specific variables, both provided the correct coefficient signs that are within the required confidence interval of 95%, which means that these significant attributes are statistically significant. So as shown on the table, the time has a negative coefficient, which means that the longer the travel time, whether using any of the modes, the higher the utility. The same observation is made on the cost, also having a negative coefficient, since higher travel cost also corresponds to the utility of any travel mode. So same observations obtained on the mode choice analysis of paper of Roquel and Fillone in 2013, where it was found that the total time spent traveling on land is one of the significant factors that the travelers take into consideration in the decision-making process. Furthermore, it was also explained on the study that cost is an important factor in a decision-making as per an individual's perception of his or her money's worth. So similar results were also obtained by Wibowo and Salermpong in 2009, where it was concluded that total travel time and total travel cost were two of the three factors with significant influence in decision-making regarding transport modes. So with this, the utility model developed, which relies heavily on travel time and cost, is as follows. So utility is equal to negative 0.14534 times travel time minus 0.08203 times total travel cost. So the time coefficient, as you can see, is also slightly negatively higher than the cost coefficient, which would mean that on the average, commuters consider travel time more than the total travel cost or fare in their decision to choose their ultimate travel mode. So thus, in terms of hierarchy, the Tubungan travelers consider the travel time more than the travel cost. So this reinforces the study of Al-Sali and Kiss in 2021, where it was concluded that travel time significance has a higher order in the hierarchy of list of decisive factors of an individual when making a mode choice, than the travel cost. So the two primary modes on the study, which is motorcycle and jeepney users, obtain individual accuracies of 94.93% and 70.37% respectively, which are the highest accuracy among the 6 travel choices. So they are followed by tricycle and car users at 57% and 33.33% respectively. So out of the 231 inputs, 193 were correctly predicted, which corresponds to a total model accuracy of 83.55%. So now we move on with the conclusion and recommendation. So based on the descriptive statistic and results, motorcycles are the main mode used, which could be attributed to the convenience of riding a motorcycle and its lower capital cost than a private car. So jeepney comes next since it is a primary transport mode of respondents, not only either a motorcycle or private car, and it also offers lower fares. So the low counts of PUB and UB users were noted since these modes are for intermunicipality or provincial routes. Moreover, the sampling population is relatively older, and the shopping either for neighborhood retail shops or sari-sari stores dominated the dataset. So the highest statistic for frequent traveler was found to be private car and tricycle users, while highest statistic for weekly travelers was found to be motorcycle users. So this could be attributed to the privilege of not having any access or egress modes and waiting time, thus inclining to travel more due to higher comfortability of being on a private transportation mode. So total travel time and total travel cost, which are both route-specific variables, provided the correct coefficient signs that are within the required confidence interval of 95%. Both resulted to negative coefficients since any increment in these variables would correspond to distributivity of the travel mode. So the time coefficient is slightly negatively higher than cost coefficient, which would mean that on the average, the commuters consider travel time more than the travel cost in the decision-making process. So in conclusion, it can be noted that the model developed followed the expected outcomes with regard to the signs of the coefficients of the variables. taking time and cost spent as sensitivity. So the model is found to be 83.91% accurate, which is already very satisfactory. So thus, it is recommended that future researches include detailed waiting time and travel time, and fair differentials per travel mode. So the private mode users could also be further subdivided into two types of travelers, the driver and the passenger. So inclusion of qualitative variables such as comfort, convenience, and accessibility that are expressed in terms of quantifiable variables is also recommended. So in addition to that, as the travel behavior of the travelers may change over time, this may imply that some limitations of the result. So therefore, it will be beneficial to run the models on a fresh and full dataset in the future. Another limitation is the size and range of the useful dataset. So in the filtering process, as you can remember, several tips has to be discarded because of some missing information. So as future research, extended analysis to a large dataset will be useful for further identifying various variables considering the effect of the mode choice. So overall, the study provided promising insights into the mode choice behavior of the travelers from Tubungan, Iloilo. So these are some of the references used on the study. So the authors would also like to acknowledge the support provided by the province of Iloilo for sharing the HIS data of the municipality of Tubungan. And for the STAR Plan 6, the OSTPCIEERD project, which has a memorandum of agreement with the province of Iloilo in developing regional and provincial route plans for the Region 6 and province of Iloilo, respectively. So the authors would also like to include the final paper in the conference proceeding. And that is the presentation about the multinomial logit modeling of the transportation system of Tubungan, Iloilo. Again, I am Jefferson, and thank you so much for your kind consideration.